Exposed. 6 sinister cases of the spine-chilling autopsy of a baby that never existed. Jenna Turner woke with a start. Her heart raced as echoes of whispers clung to her like cobwebs. Outside her bedroom window, night wrapped the suburban neighborhood in an unsettling stillness. The kind of stillness that settles over a town the moment something sinister lurks just out of sight. She glanced at the clock. 2:37 a.m. It was during these long night shifts at the hospital that the weight of her exhaustion seemed to hold her captive in dreams that twisted into nightmares. But tonight was different, terrifying. Peering down the darkened hallway, the fragmented images of her dreams returned a shadowy figure hovering over Mia, her sweet 5-year-old daughter. The child's soft cries echoed in the corners of her mind. An endless abyss she couldn't escape. With a deep, trembling breath, Jenna forced herself to sit up, shaking off the phantom fingers of sleep clawing at her. She knew she had to work the night shift again. But with each shift, the unease grew stronger, suffocating like a thick fog. The morning brought only fleeting relief. Under the harsh glare of the fluorescent lights in the kitchen, Jenna noticed small, strange markings on Mia's arms. Just little scrapes, she told herself could have happened on the playground. But as she turned to Tom, her neighbor and vigilant babysitter, unease washed over her again. Gone was his easygoing banter, replaced with a gravity that clung to him like a shadow. Something in his eyes, was it guilt or fear? That night the whispers returned. This time they were louder, sharper. Images swirled pale babies, lifeless with the terror of non-existence stamped onto their delicate faces. Jenna's mind flashed to overheard snippets at the hospital, conspiratorial murmurs among the nurses about chilling reports. Autopsy results claiming the children never existed at all. Each tale made the hairs on the back of her neck stand on end. Gripped by horror, Jenna wondered if Tom was just a friendly neighbor or part of something far darker. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Confronting Tom became a necessity. Goth-like scratches raked the evening light off his face, pushing Jenna to the edge. What happened to Mia? She demanded, her voice trembling. For a moment, it felt like time stopped, as the air crackled between them. He grinned, but the smile twisted, revealing the truth lurking in the shadows. The tension in the room intensified, a chasm expanding. As Jenna backed away, fear spiked within her chest, and the horror stories swirled in her mind like smoke. Her community held secrets, heavy truths concealed behind the veneer of picturesque lawns and friendly waves. She sensed their dark roots entwined deep within the soil of Elmswood. In this moment of despair, she swore she could hear Mia's soft laughter mingling with the chaos around her. But with every stride, she felt the insidious darkness creeping closer. Would she unravel the terrifying conspiracy in time? Or would her nightmares become vividly real, forcing her to pay the ultimate price? A cold shiver coursed through her. The truth was out there, and she had to find it before it swallowed her whole. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long, heavy shadows across Jenna's yard. With a heart still pounding from her confrontation with Tom, she moved through the house, each creak of the floorboards echoing her unease. Mia was tucked away in her room, blissfully unaware of the darkness lurking in the corners of their seemingly perfect suburb. After another restless night where sleep was more a distant echo than a welcome visitor, Jenna found herself at the hospital, her mind churning with dread. Each patient's whimper reminded her of her daughter, each cry like a ghost pulling at threads of her sanity. She couldn't shake the feeling that something was profoundly wrong, not only with Elmswood, but with her family. The usual hum of the hospital was swallowed by shadows when she entered the break room. "Have you heard about those autopsies?" a nurse whispered, her voice barely above a hush. Jenna's ears perked up, her breath hitching as the words unfurled. Babies, they say, the reports are claiming they never even existed. Every instinct shouted at her to leave, to retreat, but Jenna was paralyzed with fear. She took a step closer. What do you mean they never existed? Her voice cracked, betraying her. The nurse turned sharply, eyes wide with terror. The families, the parents all want answers. But the results just vanish. It's like these babies were never even born, like they were erased. Her stomach twisted. This wasn't gossip. This was a warning. Is this true? I mean, how is that even possible? All around her, the mundane rhythm of the hospital shifted into something darker. The nurse shook her head, wide eyes darting beyond Jenna, searching for something unseen. I don't know, but we're not supposed to talk. Not supposed to. Suddenly, the lights flickered ominously, a dance of electricity threatening to plunge them into darkness. The nurse's face paled, and just as quickly, she bolted from the break room. Alone, Jenna's insides churned. She couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. It was a weight pressing down on her chest, a silent scream at home. Jenna opened Mia's bedroom door just a crack, the faint glow of the nightlight illuminating her daughter's angelic features. But beneath that innocence lay the scratches, those unsettling marks on her arms, as if they were branding her with secrets. Every night shift, every absent laugh, every whisper grew heavier with dread. Maybe it's just my imagination, Jenna told herself, but the rattle of tree branches against the window felt like an answer she didn't want to hear. The community was hiding something, and now it felt like it was circling like vultures overhead. Later, after a long bout of tossing and turning, she finally drifted off to sleep. But the peace was fleeting. Dreams turned to nightmares as baby cries twisted into sharp laughter, echoing through the suffocating darkness. Jenna jolted awake to the sound of banging, hollow, rhythmic, deliberate. Heart racing, she darted to Mia's room. The door swung open, but the room was empty. The night light flickered, shadows dancing against the walls. Mia? She called, but the only answer was silence mixed with the echo of her own heartbeat. That S when she saw it, a dark figure in the hallway, its eyes glinting like shards of shattered glass in the night. She moved closer, instinct urging her to confront the silent menace. But as she approached, the figure dissolved into nothingness, leaving only an unshakable chill behind. Desperate and breathless, Jenna turned back towards Mia's room only to hear a soft giggle behind her. Mama. I'm right here, but the voice wasn't her daughter's. It was something deeper, darker. An echo from another world. What did Mia know? What were they hiding? And who or what had come to take her? The night air was thick with tension, a suffocating veil that swallowed Jenna whole. Shadows flickered along the walls, taunting her with glimpses of her own fears. She turned back to see the pale outline of Mia's bed, its innocence cloaked in an unsettling gloom. Mia? She whispered, half in desperation, half in denial. The giggle echoed again, sharp, playful, and soulless, clawed at her resolve. She took a hesitant step forward, breath hitching in her throat. Who's there? A silence fell like a heavy curtain, closing in around her. The figure had vanished, but a chill wrapped her tightly, the air heavy with unseen weight. Suddenly, the window rattled violently as if a gale were pushing against it. She stumbled back, her heart pounding like a wild drum. Mama, come play. The voice rang out again, high-pitched and joyful. But it was wrong. So wrong. Jenna's skin prickled. She bolted to the hallway, the walls closing in as she rushed down its dim width. The shadows seemed to stretch and crawl, whispering secrets that taunted her sanity. She rounded the corner, eyes darting, searching desperately for her child. Mia, she gasped, now frantic, her mind racing with thoughts she couldn't suppress. Outside, darkness ruled, the street lamp casting an eerie glow on the overgrown grass, which felt alive underfoot. Jenna blinked against the shadows, her fingers trembling as the dread crested anew. What are you hiding? She hissed to the night, voicing the fear twisting inside her. She reached the living room only to find the faint sound of flickering light and a music box playing a lullaby, distant but haunting in its cadence. Where was it coming from? Mia's music box was silent. The house felt bewitched, filled with echoes that shouldn't be there. A sudden crash from the kitchen made her jump. She rushed in, heart hammering against her ribs, and stumbled upon the sight a cabinet door hung ajar, its contents strewn across the floor. Glass glinted among shards, a dark puddle seeping from a broken picture frame. The photograph inside stared up at her. Her family's smiling faces frozen in time, except Mia's face was scratched out, leaving behind a gaping hole that felt like a wound. "Mama, help me," the voice chimed again, pulling her out of her whirling thoughts. Terror flooded her veins as she spun around. "Mia!" she cried, fear igniting a fire within her. Downstairs it whispered, lightly. Beneath the floorboards the sound was fleshy, alive, breathing. She dropped to her knees, pressing her ear against the cold wood. There it was again, the scratching little hands, desperate and clawing. Jenna's heart thrummed with a sickening kind of dread. Could Mia be down there? The old cellar door loomed in the shadows, its handle glistening like a promise. She could feel warmth pooling in her palms, sticky with sweat, with every ounce of determination in her trembling body. She pushed open the door, the staircase yawning before her like the mouth of a beast, a gaping dark hole inviting her closer. It was as if the darkness itself was alive, whispering lies that twisted tighter around her mind. "Help me, Mama," the voice was softer now, shaking, and unmistakably Mia's. Jenna stumbled into the stifling air, every instinct screaming for her to run. But she couldn't. "I'm coming," she shouted back against the rising panic. Each step felt like a descent into hell, walls closing in as she moved deeper. The scratching grew louder, desperation rising in rhythm with her own heartbeat. What awaited her in that terrible darkness? When she reached the last step, she hesitated, the air thick with dread and secrets. A sliver of the moon cast a pale glow, revealing something at the far corner of the basement. Cold fear washed over her. "Mama?" A voice called again, softer now, trembling with a false sweetness. But this time, it didn't come from Mia. Jenna's eyes widened, her breath catching as she stepped back. Shadows flickered, and a figure emerged, its edge blurred and wickedly smiling. "Come play," it crooned. The darkness shifted, drawing her closer. What was she about to uncover? And who was calling her down into that abyss? The questions swirled in her mind like an insidious fog as she took another step. The figure loomed closer, its grin stretching unnaturally wide, revealing teeth that were too sharp and too many. Jenna felt the darkness pulse, a living thing eager to consume her. "Who are you?" she breathed, her voice tremoring like a fragile leaf in the wind. Someone who wants to play. The voice curled around her, sweet but venomous, like honey masking poison. Inside her, fear tangled with a rising anger. Who did this thing think it was? She stepped back, heart racing, fighting the urge to scream. She wanted Mia, wanted the comfort of her child's arms. "Where is she?" Jenna demanded, summoning courage from the pit of her soul. "Playtime is more fun together." The figure tilted its head, and in the dim light, Jenna caught a glimpse of a childlike silhouette, a face she dared not recognize. "Join us, Mama." "No." She tightened her fists, unwilling to surrender to the darkness that coiled around her destiny. "Let Mia go." A chill swept across the basement, fluttering the edges of her resolve. The scratching intensified, small fingers raking against the floorboards. Her heart railed in protest, tearing her focus into one part desperate to find her daughter, another frozen in fear of the strange entity blocking her path. "Help me, Mama," the voice echoed again, and the polished silver edges of the moonlight revealed a fragile hand reaching towards her from the shadows. "Mia?" Jenna lunged forward but paused, the tension thick in the air. "Is that really you?" The wicked smile faltered for a moment, the figure deepening its shadows, morphing but not disappearing, casting an uncanny resemblance to Mia yet contorted, wrong. Jenna fought to shake the logic that whispered truths about her child in peril. "Why does it hurt?" The voice of her girl trembled, and a deep ache unfurled in Jenna's heart. "Mama, I'm scared." Her spirit chased the sound, yearning for reassurance, yet it felt like a snare tightening around her neck. "Stop it!" Jenna shouted, snapping the fragile thread binding her to the apparition. "Enough games." But the shadows danced, taunting her, swirling faster. Memories unraveled in a haunting crescendo of laughter and tears, flickering in and out of her mind. The air grew colder, depthless voids stretching impossibly wide as despair gripped her. What if Mia was lost forever? In a surge of determination, Jenna lunged towards the hand, clutching thin air. She stumbled and felt the floor crack beneath her. Her pulse quickened as she caught sight of something glinting down below an old, rusted key. The figure distorted, its mocking laughter entwining with Mia's voice, a chilling serenade that beckoned her further into the black abyss of despair. "Join us, Mama, no!" Jenna's anger ignited, feeling the cold grip of fear slacken, replaced with rage and love for her daughter. "You'll never take her." She grabbed the key, the cold metal burning in her palm. "Mia!" she screamed, launching herself back to the shadows. "I'm coming. I will find you." The darkness seemed to roar as Jenna turned toward the stairs, desperately searching for a light, for a way back to the warmth of her child. But all she saw was shadow, a yawning hunger trying to swallow her whole. Yummy, the echo danced, sending shivers spiraling down her spine. Jenna sprinted up the steps, breathing hard. She could feel the wall pressing in, every heartbeat urging her forward. "I'll find you, Mia," she shouted, determination surging as she pulled the door shut behind her. As the door clicked into place, she leaned against it, sweaty and shaken, securing the key in her pocket. But the house felt alive, the walls breathing with a sinister rhythm. "Mama," a whisper filtered through, almost tender, almost a promise. "Will always play." Jenna's heart froze. Where was Mia? What had it done? She needed answers. Turning back to the living room, a sense of dread washed over her. The music box had stopped, its silence a pleading echo against the walls. She felt eyes on her, hungry. What else was lurking in this house? And what if the play hadn't ended yet? Somewhere in the shadows, something stirred. Something that should never have been. Jenna's heart hammered in her chest, a mad drum echoing terror through her veins. The silence of the living room felt like a guillotine poised above her neck. She swallowed hard, her breaths becoming shallow gasps as she scanned the darkness creeping into the corners of the room. What was watching her? What other horrors awaited in the suffocating shadows? "Mia!" she called again, her voice cracking. "Answer me." Nothing replied, just the weight of stillness, pressing against her like a suffocating blanket. She felt as if the house had eyes watching, waiting. The walls warped, twisting with secrets she was desperate to uncover. It was all too wrong. The music box had always been an innocent fixture, a guardian of beautiful melodies echoing through happy moments. Now it rested like a grim totem. Kneeling beside it, Jenna opened the lid with trembling fingers. Dust motes swirled in the air as she peered inside. An unsettling emptiness greeted her. The tiny ballerina, previously twirling under the glass dome, was gone. The emptiness resonated within her. If the music box could take Mia's spirit, what else could the house consume? "Mia!" she shouted, desperation clawing its way into her throat. "I will find you." The shadows caught her breath, curling around her, whispering promises of comfort, but she knew better. Not now. What now? Searching the living room wouldn't yield answers. She needed to move fast, to outpace the shadows that sensed her fear. Jenna dashed toward the staircase leading up to the second floor, hesitating briefly as she glanced back. The low growls from the basement still echoed, a reminder of what lurked below. She climbed the stairs quickly, the old wood creaking with each step, a protest to the frantic weight of her decision. Reaching the top, she paused in the narrow hallway. Doors lined either side, each a portal into the unknown. Which one held the key to her daughter's disappearance? Mia, her voice felt brittle, breaking, but she pressed on. The pulse of dread quickened as she approached the first door on her left. She turned the knob slowly. It swung open with a reluctant groan to reveal a small room, coated in darkness and draped in an eerie quiet. empty except for an old rocking chair tethered with cobwebs and an ancient doll propped against the wall, its glassy eyes staring through her. Not here. Jenna shook her head, stepping back and moving to the next door, her heart thudding with a pounding urgency. What if time was running out? Each unlocked door revealed more unsettling relics of a forgotten past, dusty toys, a childhood bed, each bizarrely untouched yet cloaked in neglect. Where was Mia hiding? Where are you, baby? She whispered into the darkness, hope flickering like a dying candle. But no response came, only echoes of her own voice bouncing back, mocking. At the end of the hallway, a door stood ajar, a muted glow bleeding through the crack. The very air felt charged with an uneasy energy, trembling and waiting. Mia's voice whispered sweetly in her mind, join us. Mama, stop it, she hissed, shaking her head to cast away the insidious suggestions. Jenna pushed the door wider, revealing a dimly lit nursery painted in the softest hues of pink. But the comfort once held in this room twisted into something grotesque. The walls were adorned with photos, each frame warped, contorting faces that weren't quite human. And in the center of the room, tucked away in an old crib, lay a cradle swathed in shadows. Something stirred inside. Fear ignited in her chest. Mia? Stepping forward, she could hear the soft coos, the unsettling timbre of childhood innocence mingling with something darker. The air thickened, suffocating her with the weight of unspoken horrors as she approached the crib. The shadows shifted, revealing tender hands reaching out, unnaturally long and hauntingly familiar. Jenna's pulse quickened, heart racing, her instincts screamed to flee, and as the figure in the crib stirred, eyes opening in the darkness, Jenna realized there is no child in the nursery, only a devastating truth waiting to unfold. What had she awakened? Her gut twisted as she stepped back, feelings of dread washing over her. Was Mia even real anymore? In that moment, the house trembled, the shadows converging upon her, threatening to engulf everything in their gaping maw of despair. The music box started to play again, a sinister melody creeping through the walls, beckoning her toward litanies of unanswered prayers. Mama, the whispers chimed in chorus, each note a dart to her heart. She could feel something sinister lurking behind her, and a twisted smile curving in the darkness. What else awaited her in the depths of this darkness? Jenna's mind spun like a violent hurricane, each thought clashing against the next. The shadows around her danced, pulsing with a life of their own as they surged closer. She felt their breath on her neck, icy whispers curling around her, urging her to stay. Fear clenched her heart, constricting and tightening with every beat. Where was Mia? And what was waiting behind her in this nursery of nightmares? The shadows inched nearer, tendrils of darkness reaching out as if they had form, fingertips stretching toward her very soul. The nursery's soft pinks now felt menacing, the air thick with the sickly sweet scent of something decayed. As the music box swung into haunting melody, Jenna shuddered. It was an echo of the past, a siren song drowning her sanity. Mama, the voice lingered, a twisted mockery of her daughter's innocence. It was familiar yet foreign, an echo she couldn't grasp fully. Her instincts screamed. She had to get out. Almost tripping over her own feet, Jenna turned and sprinted past the crib. The figure inside had become a blur of shadows, but the feeling it exuded was undeniable, a dark presence that hungered, racing down the hallway. The walls seemed to close in around her, suffocating. The floorboards groaned beneath her weight, amplifying her panic as she dashed toward the staircase. But what awaited her below? The growl from the basement sounded louder now, reverberating through her bones, a skull-rattling reminder of what lurked beneath. Mia, where are you? Desperation dripped from her voice, echoing in a chilling loop. The house began to shake, almost as if it were alive. Jenna stumbled into the staircase railing, barely catching herself as the shadows whispered sweet nothings, taunting her resolve. She pressed onward, propelling herself down the stairs, gripping the banister tightly. Just as she reached the first floor, a shrill laughter erupted behind her, high-pitched and hollow. Jenna's heart dropped. It was the sound of a child, no, a creature mimicking innocence. Come play with us, Mama, they called, each word coated in malice. Jenna whirled around, her breath hitching. The living room, so familiar and welcoming, now stood warped and distorted. The furniture contorted like grotesque puppets under a cruel spell. The music box continued its dirge, echoing through the air like a funeral hymn. Glancing back to the stairs, she weighed her options. She could face the growling in the basement or confront the nursery's shadows that had now infiltrated the living room. Both choices felt like a noose tightening around her throat. "Mama," the voice rose from the corner, a soft plea layered with sinister undertones, flickering within the darkness. The voices grew louder, blending harmoniously into a chilling lullaby, enticing her to step closer. "No," she told herself fiercely, glancing at the front door. Freedom lay beyond that threshold, a world outside this nightmare where her daughter might still exist. She inched toward the door, even as the shadows hissed, warning her away. Suddenly, an icy gust swept through the room, slamming the door shut with a resounding bang. She screamed, heat rising in her chest as panic coursed through her. In that moment, Jenna felt the weight of 100 eyes, all seizing her with curious hunger. "Why won't you play?" they chorused, laughter bubbling through the air, chilling her spine, breathless. Her fingertips scraped against the wall, searching for an escape. Anything when a photograph on the mantel caught her eye. A family photo, faded but clear. Jenna gasped as she saw her own face, beaming happiness frozen in time. Next to her was Mia, but something was wrong. The girl in the picture had no shadow, and her eyes were hollow. Jenna recoiled, struggling to comprehend. The house had stolen more than she realized. It had claimed memories, twisted them into something grotesque. As the laughter echoed louder, Jenna stood paralyzed in a whirlpool of horror and revelation. Each second felt like an eternity. She felt darkness spiral around her, constricting her thoughts. And then, just as hope flickered against the tide of despair, the shadows shifted, morphing into a familiar shape. A glimpse of Mia, no, a shadow mimicking her form, a lost echo beckoning Jenna closer. "Mama, come home," but Jenna knew. This wasn't home. It was a trap. With every ounce of willpower, she shouted into the fog, "I'll find you, Mia. I will break you free." The shadows roared back, a surge of fury crashing against her. What would she face next as she plunged deeper into the heart of this nightmare? A flicker of light caught her attention. Was it hope or something worse lurking just beyond? The flickering light wavered, just a heartbeat away, casting strange shapes on the walls that seemed to dance in tune with the shadows. Jenna squinted, fighting through the haze of fear that clouded her mind. It wasn't just the light that drew her. It was a warmth that seemed to seep into the chill that gripped her. Perhaps it was a false hope, but she couldn't let herself hesitate. "Mia," she yelled again, her voice thin and desperate against the cacophony that surrounded her. As she stepped closer, the shadows writhed, stretching tendrils towards her. She could almost feel the icy tips brush against her skin, pulling her back. The music box crooned a particularly sorrowful note, drawing tears to her eyes. Yet, Jenna pressed forward, her heart pounding with determination. The light grew brighter, pulsed like a heartbeat, steady and strong. Was it real, or merely a trick of the haunted house's twisted design? Jenna steeled herself, ignoring the shadows that hissed at her retreating figure. Suddenly, another laugh erupted, this time more haunting, a sinister giggle bubbling up from the corners of the room. "You can't leave," it echoed. Jenna's stomach twisted. "I want to play your games," she cried defiantly, though fear snaked around her throat. She turned her gaze towards the source of the light, and there it was, a doorway, more like a veil, shimmering and trembling, pulsating in the darkness. Would Mia be through there? Her gut told her yes, yet every instinct screamed there was danger in that light, a worse fate waiting just beyond. Sliding her foot forward, she felt the pull of the shadows like chains around her feet. The invisible force bore down, making it impossibly heavy to move. "Stop!" she shouted into the void. "Let me go." Caught between dread and courage, finally, she dove through, closing her eyes tight, envisioning Mia's face. the tension released, slingshotting her into a new space. Jenna stumbled to her feet, disoriented. She now stood in a small, dimly lit room. The air was thick, a dense fog swirling around her. The warmth was gone, replaced by an unnatural chill that snagged against her skin. In front of her, the remains of broken toys littered the floor, stuffed animals with button eyes staring vacantly and dolls with peeling faces. They lined the walls like mourners at a funeral. "Mama?" The whisper was soft but clear, a voice she recognized immediately, cut through the gloom like a blade. "Mia?" Jenna gasped, spinning. But instead of her daughter, a shadow shifted at the far end of the room. It coiled and bent, elongating like a monster under a streetlight, impossible shapes flickering at the edges of her vision. Jenna took a hesitant step closer. "Mama, come find me." The voice rang out again, sounding farther away, teasing her to follow the command. The creature edged its way into the dim light, revealing a figure with too many limbs, twisted and grotesque. Jenna's heart raced. This wasn't Mia, this was something born from the fear and despair that haunted her. "No!" she screamed, frantically retreating, backing into the piles of toys that crumbled beneath her weight. "You're not her!" Laughter echoed, a cacophony that felt like it was clawing through her mind. "Come play with us, Mama!" They jeered, the shadows laughing in harmony, a sickening melody of malice. The floor began to tremble, shaking under her feet. She stumbled, fighting the pulse of terror that surged in her veins. "Mama!" The voice spilled out once more, its clarity striking through the chaos. "Help!" Desperation setting in, Jenna lunged back, eyes darting for an exit. But the room continued to warp around her, the walls pulsating with the deadened rhythm of sadness and longing. Then, just as quickly, the figure lunged at her, its grotesque face twisting into a ghastly smile. Jenna felt the darkness surge around her, a tide threatening to drown her. "Mama, don't go!" The voice echoed, pulling at her heartstrings as she struggled for breath. Jenna braced herself, summoning every ounce of courage left within her. She wasn't leaving Mia behind. She would face whatever this nightmare threw at her. But as the creature closed in, its mouth stretching wider, Jenna realized it wasn't just Mia they were after. Something darker loomed, a reality she wasn't prepared for. Would she breathe in truth or despair? The shadows narrowed, sinking their claws deep as she prepared to confront the unfolding horror. "Let me find her!" she screamed, each word teetering on the brink of madness. And just like that, everything plunged into darkness. What awaited Jenna in the abyss? Would she reclaim her daughter or lose herself in the depths of the night? Silence enveloped Jenna, a heavy blanket of nothingness. She couldn't see, couldn't breathe. Her heart thudded loudly in her chest, the echo bouncing off unseen walls. Panic surged through her, but as the darkness enveloped her, a familiar tug pulled at her consciousness, a whisper, soft and pleading. "Mama!" The voice was unmistakable, as if it resided within her very bones. The shadows around her pulsed and twisted, threatening to consume every whisper of light. With a surge of determination, Jenna reached out, her fingers grazing the chill of the air. "Mia!" she called into the darkness, her voice echoing back to her in mocking tones. It felt like a call into an empty void, yet she pressed on, desperate. "Where are you?" The darkness parted slightly, revealing a faint luminance, not from a source, but rather from the essence of her memories, flickering images of Mia's laughter, her tiny hands reaching up with innocent glee. But then, within those memories, a shadow loomed larger, tainting them with dread. Jenna felt a shiver run through her spine. That creature, the grotesque thing that had lunged at her, was somewhere in the shadows. She instinctively recoiled, adrenaline fueling her escape. But the darkness shifted violently, laughing, taunting. "Come play with us, Mama!" The chorus of twisted voices rose, surrounding her in a cacophony of despair. Her heart raced, pounding like a drum in the stillness. How could she find Mia when the darkness sought to drown her in fear? She thought of her daughter, thought of the warmth of her embrace, and drew strength from those fleeting memories. "Mia!" Jenna cried again, forcing her voice through the veil of shadows. "I'm coming." A flash erupted in the distance, illuminating a path through the gloom. Drawing on every ounce of desperation, Jenna sprinted toward the light. The shadows thrashed, screeching as she tore through their grasp, buoyed by a single thought: her daughter needed her. The warmth returned, enveloping her as she neared the light. It felt tangible, not a trick of her mind but a beacon in the deep. She reached out and broke through, tumbling into a vast, empty space that glistened with an ethereal glow. A chill swept over her again, but this time it felt different, stronger, colder. The room was vast, almost infinite. Ghostly figures drifted through the fog, their faces obscured, whispering secrets Jenna could barely make out. "Where are you, Mia?" she gasped, scanning the shadowy expanse. The figures turned toward her, their vacant eyes reflecting both sorrow and something darker. They lingered, swaying like stalks in a tempest, and she could swear she heard her daughter's voice again. "Mama!" The sound sparked her heart, igniting the flame of hope once more. Beneath the chilling dread lurked a primal urge to protect, to rescue her child. She strained to focus. She noticed a flickering shape at the far end of the room. It beckoned with ghostly movements, a silhouette of something or someone familiar, shadowed but unmistakable. "Mia!" Jenna shouted, running forward, but as she reached out, the space shifted. The ground trembled, and the lights began to flicker ominously. "Stay away!" An echo rang out, sharper now, fraying at the edges of her sanity. The invisible barrier forming around her pulsed violently, a wall born from terror incarnate. With every step, the shadow of her daughter danced away, fading into the void. "Come back!" she screamed, her voice splintering in the air, the darkness tightening its grip. She paused, breathless and terrified. The figures encircled her, whispering secrets that sliced through her mind. The dread twisted, and the laughter morphed into a chorus of mockery, scattering her determination. Suddenly, a deep, guttural growl resonated through the shadows, echoing with a hunger that sent a wave of paralyzing fear through her veins. What are you?" Jenna barely formed the words. The answer loomed before her, an oppressive force filled with sorrow and malevolence. And then she realized the truth behind the shadows was worse than anything she could imagine. "Mama, help!" The voice cracked through her comprehension, forcing her to confront the depths of despair. Could she really face what lay ahead? What had she unleashed by stepping into this nightmare? In that heartbeat of uncertainty, the shadows surged toward her, ready to strike, ready to devour. Jenna stood her ground, a visceral scream rising in her throat as darkness threatened to swallow her whole. Was it too late to save herself? Too late to save Mia? In that split second, everything ripped apart, plunging her into the depths of sleep and nightmare. The world around Jenna dissolved into a swirling chaos of shadows as she felt herself splintering apart. Her scream echoed somewhere in the void, swallowed whole by the unending darkness. It was as though the ground had collapsed beneath her, hundreds of feet deep into an abyss of despair. Jenna's focus slipped in and out, flickering between lucidity and a haze of panic, when suddenly, she thought she saw a sliver of light breaking through. It was small, distant, but it seared through the surrounding dread, a desperate hope. "Mia!" she rasped again, her voice trembling like a fragile leaf in a storm. The darkness pressed heavier around her, suffocating her spirit, but the thought of her daughter ignited a spark deep within. She surged towards the light, each step feeling as if she were wading through thick, sticky mud, dragging every ounce of her being along. Then the laughter started again, the twisted call of shadows, each giggle burrowing deeper into her mind, clawing at the edges of her sanity. "You can't save her, Mama!" they taunted, their voices morphing into a dissonant symphony of despair. The sound wrapped around her, a vine of dread squeezing tightly, but within it, a voice broke through, gentle yet urgent. "Mamma Mia!" Jenna screamed, torn between joy and terror. It sounded so close now, so near, as if her daughter was just beyond those dense layers of darkness. The light flickered like a candle in the wind, momentarily illuminating the shadows that danced threateningly around her. She stumbled forward, recklessly pushing through the haze, the momentary brightness revealing scattered memories that filled her with both warmth and pain. And as she drew closer to the pulse of the light, she saw them figures, outlines of lost souls, frozen in a grotesque tableau. Their expressions were etched with anguish, mouths open in silent screams that echoed a horror Jenna couldn't bear to imagine. She felt a cold sweat blanket her, each heartbeat pounding to a rhythm that echoed the drugging fear coursing through her veins. The air thickened, becoming suffocating. A colossal being emerged, towering and shadowy, writhing as if formed by the darkness itself. Its presence loomed like a thunderhead brimming with despair, the air crackling with a desperate energy. Jenna's breath hitched. She felt instinctively that this was the source of the shadows. The puppeteer of nightmares it spoke without words. A sinister voice that slithered into her ears. This is where souls linger, lost and forsaken. To save one, another must fall. Desperation clawed at her throat. No, I won't let you take her, Jenna shouted defiantly, her heart a hammer in her chest. The darkness recoiled, rippling as if the force of her resolve startled it. Mama! The voice was louder now, brighter, intertwining itself with the single thread of hope clawing its way through her heart. Jenna pushed on, her fists clenched, determination filling her lungs with air despite the thick darkness. She reached out, fingers straining to grasp the light, the essence of her daughter. But the growl returned, deeper and more resonant, rattling the very ground beneath her. It's not that simple, dear mama. Every choice has a price. The shadows tightened around her, and the light dimmed, flickering perilously as she felt the cold slither of those ghostly figures clawing at her skin. Fight, a whisper urged from the depths of her mind. Was it Mia? Jenna tore through the darkness, summoning every ounce of strength she had left. No, she screamed. I will not let you take her. Then everything around her erupted, a whirlwind of chaos as shadows raked at her skin. Clarity pierced the murk for just a split second, revealing Mia standing ahead, her eyes wide with terror, pleading. But just as Jenna reached for her, the darkness swallowed her scream once again. Silence fell for a heartbeat, thicker than before, broken only by the lingering echo of shadows whispering promises of despair. In that moment of stillness, Jenna could feel the weight of her choice closing in like a vice. What price would she pay to save Mia? The question hung in the air, suffocating and inevitable. And with one last desperate push, the light flickered, and the world around her began to unravel. Jenna's heart thundered in her chest as she lunged toward the flickering beacon of light. It felt like hope wrapped in a familiar tune, floating through the darkness like a lifeline. The shadows hissed, recoiling at her determination, whispering threats that clawed at her sanity. You can't leave. You can't save her. But she refused to listen. Terror spurred her on as she pushed through the vacuum of shadows, the dark twisting like a serpent, trying to pull her back. Mia! She screamed, voice cracking under the weight of her fear. Each syllable cascaded against the walls of darkness, bouncing back as echoes of despair. But she pressed forward. The light flickered bright, and for a moment, she saw it Mia, standing behind a veil of darkness, the innocent smile she missed so much lighting up her face. Mama! Her voice sounded sweet but far away, laced with something deeper, something that pulled at Jenna's heart. Mia! Desperation surged through her veins, tightening her grip as she felt the fire of determination igniting within. The shadows twisted, howling in fury, their claws reaching for her, dragging her away from the warmth of her daughter. Mama! Help me! Mia's voice cracked in the shadows, and Jenna felt a visceral pain rip through her. I'm coming! She cried, the adrenaline coursing through every fiber of her being. The pull of the dark entity fought against her will, tightening like chains, but she wouldn't let go. No matter the cost, she couldn't lose her daughter. The shadows roared, an angry tempest swirling around her, threatening to engulf her whole. Just as she reached to touch the light, it flickered violently, casting nightmarish shapes around the room. But she wouldn't be deterred. She charged forward, drawing strength from the love of a mother protecting her child. Mia! And with one final surge, She broke through the threshold into the brightness. The moment Jenna crossed into the light, the world erupted in a blinding brilliance that banished the shadows. She blinked against the radiance, and as her eyes adjusted, she found herself swirling in a soft, warm glow with flickers of color swirling around, like a dreamscape forming anew. "Mama?" The voice called again, this time so clear. And there she was, Mia, radiant and alive, arms stretched wide, welcoming her mother to her embrace. Without hesitation, Jenna dove into her daughterous warmth, wrapping her arms protectively around the little girl, clutching her as tightly as she could. "Mia, I thought I lost you." Tears streamed down Jenna's cheeks, a mixture of joy and relief flooding through her as the nightmares melted away. But even as she held Mia, shadows threatened to encroach, looming ominously at the edges of the light. "It's okay, Mama. We're free now." Mia's dimples deepened as she smiled, the innocence in her eyes breaking down the darkness, trying to reclaim them. "You broke it. You broke the spell." Jenna felt the tension lift, clarity washing over her. But how? What about the others? The weight of the past still lingered, a reminder of the pain and sorrow. Suddenly, the light pulsed stronger, casting the shadows farther away. "They can go now too. You taught me to fight the fear. We can help." Mia's optimism glimmered, a beacon amid the remnants of gloom. "I'm not leaving anyone behind," Jenna proclaimed, and with Mia by her side, she stepped forward. Together, they raised their hands, channeling the warmth of their bond into the light, sending it cascading outward. The shadows shrieked, brittle forms fracturing as the light poured into their hollow existence. The atmosphere surged, filling with the anguished cries of lost souls as they evaporated into the brilliance. Figures emerged from the darkness, shock and sorrow etched across their faces. Some resembling children just like Mia, others the heavy silhouettes of parents. "Remember us," Jenna called out, greedily clinging to the power of love, which surged through her. "You are not alone. You can leave this darkness together with us." Each echoed word swelled within her, and as Jenna and Mia continued to radiate light, the lost souls began to step into the warmth, dissolving their chains, smiles brightening the bleakness. Finally, when the shadows dissolved beneath the cascade of hopes, she felt a wave of relief pant over her limbs. Jenna hugged Mia tightly, whispering promises of togetherness and safety, as the last remnants of darkness faded away into peaceful nothingness. And in that moment, standing resolutely with her daughter in her arms, Jenna knew the truth of the darkness. Fear would always lurk but must not be allowed to consume them. Love would conquer all, and she would remain the fierce guardian, destined to lift the veil whenever shadows threatened. "Mama, let us go home," Mia said with a sweet smile, reassuring and radiant. "Yes, my love, let us go home." With that, they stepped forward into the light, hand in hand, leaving behind an abyss of despair and stepping into a world anew, where love could heal and joy awaited as they embraced the dawn. The sun began to rise, and Jenna could finally breathe, feeling an abundant sense of peace spread throughout her. But Jenna knew that their story didn't end here. They had conquered the horrific fears, but there were still other tales of darkness lurking in the world beyond. And she was ready to face whatever came next, with Mia at her side. "Now, before you go, I need you to do something huge. You need to subscribe now to this channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button right now to feed the algorithm, help us grow, and support what you love. And flood that comment section with your reactions and theories about the ending. Your thoughts matter. Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second. Your support is everything.